Okay,
All right. So I guess we just go into it then.
sure thing.
Okay. It's been a while since we did an episode.
A very, very long time. Very
We've-
long overdue.
Corona is a bitch.
I think that's an understatement, but okay.
So welcome back to another episode of the Coffee Spill Podcast. I'm your host, Ricky.
And I'm your co-host, Edgar.
Hi, Edgar.
Hey, bro.
How's it going?
It could be worse.
Could be better.
It could be better.
Be
We've
a
been
lot-
better.
Been a lot better.
Let's give a little quick update. What's going on with you?
I had surgery. They cut me open and now I'm fixed.
Oh yeah, it was hell. And I felt way more sorry for you because you lost a lot of sleep.
Oh, I'm sleeping a lot now.
A lot better now. Thank God for that.
It's part of the reason why I guess we haven't been doing episodes. Just too tired to do anything. But since surgery happened, I can eat more and I have more energy now. So here we are.
Yeah. I mean,
And we were discussing a pretty good topic the other day. And I thought that why not open up a new episode of the podcast about it?
yeah, I was watching. This started off when I bought my own camera, and it was after I kept watching you do your work on video recording, filming in general, and then also photography, and how very anal you have to be when it comes to photo editing and shooting. So it kind of got me to get one, same exact model camera that you have, and so I always kept asking you questions. And as I started learning more and more, I couldn't find the video, but I ran into this one particular video where apparently there's a term called filmatic. And it's kind of a ongoing debate in the film industry about, is film still a good thing to have, or digital is the complete way to go?
So you said it's called Filmatic?
That's a term. Like, you use film and then matic for like short is the word that they took from the term cinematic. So film and cinematic put together.
Okay.
And I also heard the term digimatic, which it's kind of like, sounds like a Digimon term from an anime.
So it sounds like people in the industry want to really separate between filmmaking and digital making.
kind
like
of,
digital video making and filmmaking.
yeah, kind of like. So the video was talking about, and the video, and to put it in context, and to put in context what I could understand, because I'm no expert at this stuff, although I find it really fascinating and I wish I was. But it showed like a little small clip where a guy was showing like a 10-second clip of a film that he's introducing, and both his critiques were like saying your film was too clean, the frame rate's too high, it looks way too polished, like it looks like something that you shot out of a 20 grand camera, like
Yeah.
a very expensive camera. And the other guy also agreed, but he thought like, yeah, but he was a bit nicer. It was kind of like American Idol. The lady was kind of like very, very mean, very strict, while the guy was a bit more, giving him a little bit leeway. And it became kind of like an argument with the filmmaker, the director, to his critiques. And that's where the video starts, where is film still a necessary thing to put in the industry? Is it still important? Is it really at all that necessary? And then
Well, okay.
I brought this topic up to you, and
So yeah, that's where our discussion started, and we kind of got into it a little bit.
yeah,
But I really wanted some time to like look into it myself. I didn't know that there were, what did you call them? Whatever you call them?
filmatic.
I guess filmophiles. Wait, yeah, people that like really like
Film
the
enthusiasts,
classic
old school
look
people.
of film and
Yeah.
using film. So I've only been shooting digital for about 2 years now.
Mhm.
I haven't been like in the scene all that long compared to like other people. So my only exposure has only ever been digital, including right now, what we're doing. It's all digital.
Yeah,
It's so easy just to hook up and just record digital. But I have wanted to dabble in film because there is an appeal to it. There's like, it's almost like how people get very protective of vinyl people are like, oh,
Mhm.
it's a warmer sound, it's a cleaner tone or something.
You hear more things through
Yeah.
the record.
And to be fair, we have vinyl. Like you and I both like listening to vinyl every now and then. And there is a difference between listening to digital on the computer and a vinyl record. There is a difference that you can kind of hear. So I can see the argument with film also. My thoughts on, does film still have a place in the industry? Sure, if you want to go for that look. If you want to go for that classic, unedited film grain look, sure, it's totally fine.
There's a material film called cellulite, I believe. You can kind of almost mistake it as cellulite, which is something that goes on with the human body. That's something different.
Okay.
Nothing inappropriate. It's mistaking that term. I keep forgetting how the word goes. I'm just putting in context.
Yeah, just for the record, like neither of us have ever worked with film.
No.
Closest I've ever gotten to is a Polaroid camera.
Yeah,
which I imagine has something to do with it because of the chemicals that go into like the Polaroid.
Yeah.
But that's the closest we've ever gotten to actual film.
Cellulite, I believe. And you see this in The Godfather. There are pros and cons when it comes to film. And even current directors to this very day, even the most notorious ones like Martin Scorsese, Quentin Tarantino, Steven Spielberg, and one of my all-time favorites, Christopher Nolan.
Mm-hmm.
They all use film. And Tarantino is one of the ones who is like a bit more like, I wouldn't say closed-minded. I guess he tried it, but he just didn't like connect to it. And he basically said like, all he said was, it doesn't do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like he doesn't seem to get the exact kind of tone for his films, because cellulite, it actually provides more depth. It automatically successfully captures the colors, and it makes the shadows stand out more. So like it makes them actual black.
So you're going off of that video I sent you, right? And there's two videos.
Yeah.
That we couldn't find the one that you were talking about.
If by some miracle, if I find it, I'll send it to you and put it in the link.
We'll put it in the description. But there's two videos, and we'll put those in the description too. Mm-hmm. There's two videos that I found that really kind of like got me to form my opinions on this. And the video that I sent you, featuring Quentin Tarantino and all these other filmmakers, like, and I mean film as in like the actual film role.
Yeah.
I think that video is a little bit unfair to digital, because all their films were mostly talking about like older films and like older generation. The only example they gave of a modern day film that could have used digital was The Hateful Eight, which Tarantino was very
adamant about.
He really wanted to film it with film, and he really wanted to use like the most, I guess, latest technology with film, because he knew exactly the look he wanted. But every other example, I think, in that video was using older films and old digital technology at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a little unfair, because digital has come a long way.
It does. Because Spielberg is one of those guys that he says, and he makes a fair point, where if you shoot film, the downside of projecting it on the screen at the theater, especially mostly modern theaters, because digital was finally starting to become a thing. Like most theaters were starting to use digital projectors instead of film projectors, and it kind of became. He really got worried, saying that whenever I shoot film and they present it on the digital projector, the quality goes down, and it becomes a little bit more hazy, and he gets worried about the quality. And to him, he knows that we're gonna be at that point where film no more. We finally figured it out technologically through software, through our digital cameras, and he knows that there's gonna be a point where he himself is gonna be saying, you know what, yeah, this time I'm gonna have to use digital, but for now, I just love doing film because it has that feel, which a lot of people say that not only do they use it for the style and the vibe, it's like an experience to them, like the process of setting up the camera and reviewing the film. Some people would go that far to even have their own dark room.
I was watching a video of I'll put it in the description too. It's these, I forgot, Concord, I think. They did a video titled like Millennials reveal their, like, they, what is it called? I forgot what they titled it, but they basically were developing their own film from a camera, a digital camera, or not a digital camera, from a what do you call it?
Film camera.
Film camera, yeah. And it looked really exciting because they were using a modern method of developing. They weren't using, a dark room with that red light that doesn't damage the. Yeah. They were using a modern method, which I'm surprised they're still developing techniques to develop film because, I guess in the old days it was a bit harder, and you basically had to do trial and error before you finally figured it out. But for being their first time developing film, they did it. They got their photos out and they had their negatives. And just looking at their experience, like, I was like, I kind of want to do that. Which I have looked into a couple of my own film cameras that I want to try out. The only downside is the rolls. You have to keep buying your rolls.
Yeah, it's actually gotten expensive.
You can't, like, as opposed to digital, you can't like see what shot you got. You can only see it like once you've developed it, and even then, I've heard that when you're looking into the viewfinder, whatever you're looking at is not going to be exactly the same as what you get on the film because of the the difference in height or however the camera is built.
Yeah, I did find some film cameras that actually have a screen, like a tiny screen, and it's like, oh, okay, so they've actually I noticed, like, when I was looking at the camera, it came to the realization that they were baby stepping it. Like, they didn't just jump the gun on some of these cameras, or maybe they have, and I just haven't noticed it. But it actually starts to show you how much they progressed with how it slowly became from film, borderline digital, to fully digital.
It's the evolution of I guess video and photography.
Yeah,
it's a really cool evolution. From the earliest days, like, I think one of the things that they wanted to solve was, does a horse's feet all touch the ground while it's running, or do they lift?
The camera was built literally because of that.
No, so that's basically their evolution, the start of video, because they set up a bunch of cameras, and they noticed that if they flipped through the images fast enough, it kind of looked like it was moving. And apparently that's like the start of video, which is a kind of a cool, like, oh, we accidentally a thing.
Yeah, they also did that with an elephant.
I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, it's like a very, very old, like, it just shows the elephant and you barely see what's around it. And it was kind of depressing, though. It was fascinating, but it was kind of depressing. The elephant was just like shrugging. The poor thing. But
so going back to like the digital and film, I guess, debate. Is it a debate? I haven't met anybody. Well, because I haven't been in it very long, but I haven't met anybody that is opposed to moving on to digital. Mostly, from what the videos that we've seen, the people that are mostly opposed to going full digital are these old directors that grew up with film, that grew up with film techniques. They are their own masters in their field. They know what they want. They know they know exactly the look they want to get with their film. But I haven't met anybody opposed to moving forward.
It's like a process to them. Like, it's just, like I said before, the celluloid film, it does provide a more organic look to it, and it does provide a bit of the grain does soften the image, and people have actually, people, like, for example, which movie was it? The Hobbit, the first Hobbit movie. I think you and I went to go see it in theaters when it first came out. And whenever I saw that, when I first saw that film, I noticed how very nice it looked and breathtaking. But then when we went back to seeing other movies, they didn't the quality and the frame rate was not meeting up to standards compared to The Hobbit, and I was like, what's going on here? So that same video that I cannot find, they ended up explaining it. Peter Jackson, the director, he literally bought a bunch of digital cameras. Well, he didn't buy them; he utilized them for the movie, and shot it at 48 frames per second. And when you go out off the rails, off the basically the spectrum, the rule of presenting your film in cinema, which originally is supposed to be 24 frames per second, and I kind of like it, especially Saving Private Ryan. The creative thing that they did there, and I don't mean like to go back and forth, they did a double negative on the cameras, on the film, to give it that gray blue tone, that to give it a more staccato look to it. And it provided a more, you kind of almost look at it as if it was somebody was filming and documenting it through their own cameras, watching what these soldiers were doing, what the Marines were doing in World War II. So looking at The Hobbit, I did it looking back at it, I was like, that I can understand people being thrown off by it, especially with a screen that's huge, that's really, really big. And I think it's a matter of perspective of the experience when you're watching it. And I think it's something that a lot of people are used to when they're utilizing their film. That's why I also always notice when we watch the latest Avengers movie, for example, out of nowhere, it looks 10 times better when we play it on Blu-ray. And that's because the movies were filmed at their highest potential, but they downgraded it for the projectors and for the theater for that basic film experience. Sometimes they went as far as to intentionally add that grain and that flair.
So since you brought up Avengers, like the MCU movies, I think this is a good segue into like one of the topics that came up in these videos. One of the things that these older directors were complaining about is everything CGI, blah, blah.
Oh yeah.
So yes, the Marvel films are basically CGI. When you look at the behind the scenes, you can see like all these blue screens, green screens. They what is his name? Mark Ruffalo. He's covered in dots for the Hulk. What's the Thanos character's actor name?
Josh Brolin.
Him too. He also had a bunch of dots on him. So film has gotten very weird in terms of like how they do things. But I just saw this movie last weekend, 1917. They did everything practically. I was watching behind the scenes video with my friends, and they did everything practically. They went out, they dug trenches. I'm not sure what format they filmed. I don't know if it was digital or not. I'll look it up. I want to say it was digital because the cameras they were using, they didn't look like they could hold film, but I'm not sure. So I mean, yeah, a lot of modern movies are using digital, but they use digital when the story calls for it. The Marvel movies are high fantasy sci-fi movies. Of course there's going to be digital. How could you possibly film the Doctor Strange sequence?
Oh yeah,
without any sort of heavy editing?
Without a doubt.
Like so when all these older directors are, I guess not bashing, but they're like turning away from digital. It's like, how are you going to film, for example, that Doctor Strange sequence on film without all this editing? You know? You can't shoot that practically unless you're on heavy drugs.
I mean, that's a good point. The very first digital film, the very first film that ever premiered in theaters that was captured on digital cameras was Star Wars Episode 1: The Phantom Menace.
Was that actually the first digital film?
Apparently, like I can't verify it.
We'll fact check that.
Fact check, yeah.
Let us know in the comments how wrong we are.
Yeah, how dead wrong. We might be dead wrong.
There's probably some obscure other digital film that came out.
I can already imagine some film. You're all wrong. But what was I going to go? Yeah, but like when they now that you mentioned digital, that's another thing. Like digital is great. However, it doesn't do exactly how film does. But that's where software comes along.
It don't do how it does.
Basically. But a lot of film enthusiasts have said it. Like I can understand the argument like Star Wars or Star Trek, the MCU films. They use digital cameras to make it easier for like the editing for the CGI. For some people, that's like, oh, they just use CGI. That's it. I mean, that's no big deal. But others will say that's a kind of a lazy thing to do. They've gone as far as to even say where Robert Downey Jr. was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he said one time when he was doing a bunch of takes, they said like he was wearing like a replica of the Iron Man suit. It almost looked like he was playing for football.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, so I'm just do one take of me with this, and I'll do another take without it. And he'll do like multiple takes without it. And at that point, I was like, can we do it one more time? I felt like my arm was out of place. And the director said, oh, no, don't worry about it. We'll just CGI your arm and move your arm a little bit closer.
Which is freaking weird.
Which was freaky. It's like that's how far we've gone with technology in terms of editing.
So when it comes to that, for example, I do agree. It's a bit like, it's like, oh, we'll just move it with CGI. Like, why? You're already on set.
Yeah.
You have like terabytes worth of storage. Just do another take.
Yeah.
Like why? What's gonna cost you like a couple of minutes to do that extra take just to get his arm in the right place?
Exactly. So a lot of films like Spider-Man 2, Saving Private Ryan, Dunkirk, some of these films, they're not exactly how they should be filmed. I mean, some like half of these films, a portion of these films are fantasy, but they did shoot exactly in post and on locations. Dunkirk was literally shot on Dunkirk, where it actually happened, and they used real boats, real like actual practical effects. Like barely everything on that movie was CGI. The one thing that was CGI that I can only think of are the flares of the bullets coming out on the dogfights
in Dunkirk.
The dogfighting sequence with the planes. There's a dogfight. They're shooting each other, and bullets are flying out of the planes. And the reason why they designed it like that is because in history, they did that in order for you, the shooter, to track the bullet to know if that bullet hit your target.
Mm-hmm.
So of course they utilize that technique, and it just goes to show you, okay, so we can use a small portion of CGI into film,
mm-hmm.
and the only con at that point is film is just really expensive, and there aren't that many businesses. It turns out there's only one company, just one laboratory that is actually processing film for their directors, for their in Hollywood.
I imagine a few have popped up now again, since film is still becoming like.
I would hope so, because my perspective, I feel film can still have a place.
Oh yeah,
and could be used as a tool
for sure. Because
I mean, Skyfall was shot in digital. I mean, film. The James Bond film Skyfall.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, that was probably one of the, in my opinion, I think that's the second best Bond film out there, next to Casino Royale.
So okay, so all these so we keep talking about like all these big filmmakers, like the Hollywood producers, like the big boys, right?
Yeah.
But what about, for example, small guys like us, like small, like people that are enthusiasts, like hobbyists, people that are like, they just want to get into the industry, like they just want to get into like filmmaking,
mm-hmm.
making videos. We still call it filmmaking. Also, we don't really call it like. You don't really call yourself a video maker. That's weird. I mean, you can. I've heard people do it, but people usually call themselves filmmakers,
mm-hmm. because
the film has had that big of an impact on the history of cinema and videography, cinematography. It's a part of the history,
almost to a point where it's part of our culture. All over the world.
Like I think photography in general. Okay, so I'm speaking as a photographer, 'cause that's
Mhm.
mostly what I do. I'm a photographer first. I'd like to get into cinematography, trying to with this podcast, for example.
Same.
It's like, how you doing? Um, but speaking as a photographer, in terms of film and digital, I think digital is making it more accessible for people to be able to capture memories. I mean, even cell phones.
They've
A
gone that
lot of
far.
photographers are kind of bash on cell phones because it's like, oh, it's not. Well, you can't control the lens. You can't control you right.
Yeah.
Being all pretentious, but I think people should be open even to cell phones. I've seen Instagram pages whose photography is based around cell phones.
That's how I practiced before I got my camera.
Yeah, me too. It definitely teaches you how to use what you have
Mhm.
to capture a moment, to get artistic with the moment. I even bash I'm still against shooting vertically,
Yeah.
whether it be video or photo. But I'm starting to be more open about shooting vertically
Mhm.
because that's just how the world is moving. Everybody's on their screen like this anyway, so why wouldn't you shoot like this, right? I mean, yeah, you can flip the phone, and a lot of apps do support flipping to horizontal, but I'm so annoyed that Instagram, for example, doesn't let you do that,
Oh my
or
god, yeah.
TikTok, for example. I am so annoyed with TikTok because it forces you to shoot vertically, and I'm just like, as an editor too, I'm just like, oh. But I'm still more open about it because smartphones are so common now. Even you can even get an old smartphone from like 3 years ago, and it could be a good little camera for you to use. And anywhere in the world, I think most people nowadays, the majority of humans, have a form to take photos with, and it'd be really hard to do that if it was still film. So I think digital does have a place.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, the way how you explained it is way better than George Lucas explained it, because he kind of had this attitude of a get with the program or get out kind of attitude,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, well, hold on. When I understand his perspective on digital and advancing more on digital, but to be fair, J.J. Abrams, who directed Star Wars: The Force Awakens and The Rise of Skywalker, The Force Awakens was filmed with film.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
Oh.
with film, and coming from his perspective, who is a big Star Wars fan, he wanted to capture it as a kind of like an homage to A New Hope, which was the very first Star Wars film to ever premiere here in America. And that kind of, like, when you have a reason like that, I kind of feel like, okay, that's very sympathetic. The way how you explain it with digital, yeah, it's more compact, it's a lot easier, and more importantly, it's not heavy.
Yeah.
Film gets heavy.
Film. Yeah.
Um, the only upside that I know about film is that you film what you need, you shoot what you shoot, and it's all there. And they always redo the thing all the time. I mean, to this very day they do
What's
that.
the thing?
Well, I don't have that black and white thing where, hey, take
the,
one.
The slate.
Yeah, the slate. That's what they call it.
That's a slate.
The slate. Okay, yeah, they use a slate. They still use
For all
the
you non-digital or non-film people, it's called the.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, the slate. But fuck, you made me lose my train of thought.
Point is, they don't waste their shot.
Yeah, and so they just transfer all the films in a crate, and like, yep, this is all we have. This is what you need to use. This is all you need to use. We did multiple takes, like you said before. You told me one time, I asked for your advice. I was showing you a bunch of pictures, and you were like, "You didn't shoot more." That's what you told me, and I was like, "No." And that's the one thing that you did tell me. I love how very passionate you were telling me this. You were like, yeah, don't be afraid to take multiple shots, because there's gonna be one really good shot that you like, and the rest of the shots are just gonna be out the window.
Yeah. So that's another thing. That's also another point that came up in terms of like making sure you have just the right shot. So that is a point that came up, and I see both positives and negatives when it comes to digital and film. So with film, and now I'm speaking like in terms of like actually recording a video, or I guess this also applies to like a photo.
Mm-hmm.
For film, you shoot what you need.
Mm-hmm.
You don't record. You don't start filming. You don't start actually using the roll until you know you have the shot. So one of the things that one of the directors said in the second video that I sent you was it forces you to be creative.
Yeah.
You're not going to waste the shot. You're going to hold it until you know you have the perfect shot.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's film, you don't want to waste it. You want to make sure you get as many great shots first try.
Again, because it's very expensive.
It's expensive. It takes time to develop. You don't want to waste your time developing a shot that is going to just be dumb or whatever. So I can see that, because it forces you to be good. Like, you literally get good, right? You're going to be a master shot with your photography, or your film. Downside is, if you're going to be thinking in that way, because also it is expensive and you can't shoot what you want, you might miss a different angle that would have been better from what you envisioned.
Mm-hmm.
You might miss a better shot than what you're actually taking. So when it comes to digital, sure, you're maybe a little bit lazier, I guess, but you have the freedom to, oh, that shot kind of sucked, delete. Or even like, oh, this is a raw file, I'll just edit it and it'll be better than what I'm looking at.
This type of argument is also applied in animation, which I would love to talk about in another podcast, unless you want to talk about it now.
I think animation and photography are like, they do share a couple of things, but neither of us are animators,
No.
So I think that should be a whole topic on its own.
I'd do research on that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the only thing that I want to put out there is that, yeah, it's the same thing when it comes to animation. They say that a lot of people want 2D animation back, kind of like how they did back with Disney, like Hercules, Cinderella, and that's great, and it's puts a challenge, and it does add more, and it allows people to put detail. However, again, Pixar has advanced a lot more on that, and not only that, you can always use the software to move the camera however you want.
It's also really hard to do traditional animation,
Also
but that's a different topic.
Yeah.
That's a totally different topic. So what I was saying, when a lot of modern digital photographers, cinematographers, they all say the same thing. You have don't be afraid to shoot. Don't be afraid to take the shot, because you have plenty of space on your SD, SSD, whatever form of card or whatever your data storage is.
Yeah.
You have plenty of space, so don't be afraid to take those shots. Yeah. So what I told you about don't be afraid to experiment with like angles, because yeah, your phone has plenty of space. It's not like a phone takes like huge amounts of storage space with a photo. Like,
yeah,
they're designed to take like a quick shot for that moment. Even if it's a JPEG, raw images are a bit bigger, but not by much, especially with the cameras that we have. We're not taking huge files. Even if we're recording at 4K, which we're not right now, but even if it was 4K, our cameras, the ones that we have, they're not huge files. But even if we did have like a camera that shot bigger files, we'd probably have a way to record or store that data, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one advantage for digital. You can get as many shots as you want, as many attempts as you want, and you're probably not going to miss a shot anymore because of how accessible data is. It's easier to transfer files. Like once it's on the camera, you could just send it to post, and your editors are gonna like just sift through it, look for the good ones, get rid of the bad ones. If there is a bad one, they could probably salvage it. The digital is just so malleable now. It's so accessible. It's so easy, and I think that all these directors, all these old directors, I know I'm probably gonna get shit for this, but they're being pretentious when they say digital isn't. I think I'm paraphrasing heavily here. They didn't say this at all, but what I was getting from that video was they're calling digital shit, which maybe back in the day, sure, even by today's standards, when you're looking back at digital, it's like, oh, that's not very good. And yeah, back in the day, film probably did have Trump against that's not the right word, a leg up on digital, because we've been working with digital for so many years. It's like people have mastered it. Digital was new at the time. Of course you were going to get better results with film because digital was a new medium. Nobody really understood it yet.
It wasn't perfect,
but now we're recording in 8K. For God's sake, we've gotten to the 8K.
Actually 16K now.
Fucking why? Like who needs that many pixels, honestly?
I saw this video where
wait, hold on. I'm not done with my like little rant defending digital. Yeah, like honestly, I'm sure their intentions come from a good place to preserve film, to preserve that art, but it comes off as pretentious. Like just try. Tarantino, if you're watching this, I doubt he is ever. He's never gonna watch this. Make a short film, like a little 10-minute film with digital. See how that turns out. I'm sure it'll be great. I know film is his mastery. That's his domain, right? And I'm not calling out just Tarantino, I guess. All these old filmmakers, just make a 10 little short using digital. See how it turns out. I'm sure the editing would be fine.
I didn't know. And this is one little thing that I do like about Tarantino. I didn't know that Pulp Fiction was from 1996, something like around that time, around the 90s. It looks like it's from the 70s
because it's the style. That's the look he was going for.
It's a modern noir, kind of like a buddy cop look to it. Mm-hmm. But instead of cops, they're hitmen. And when I watched it, I was like, this is a very old film, but Travolta, damn, he aged well. And I realized, it's from the 90s. Yeah. Oh wow, he really aged well. And that's how surprised I am. So again, going back to that, and again to Saving Private Ryan, I guess it's that style. It provides that vibe, that old school vibe.
Yeah.
So when you watch it, and again, Schindler's List, they shot that movie on film, and they use a special kind of film where it only captures black and white. Mm-hmm. So of course that provides a lot of leeway for the editors to not make this entire film to be a negative. And it also does provide that intense vibe of how it looked back in the day. There was no color back in the day. There's some footage, actual World War II footage, including like Hitler's speech, or even a video footage of somebody capturing Hitler.
You can't say that word. We're gonna get flagged.
Charlie Chaplin's evil twin.
I get what you mean. It's
yeah. So the point is like it's a style and a vibe to it.
Yeah.
And digital. Fuck, this is like a train of thought I'm trying to latch back onto. It's like, yeah, it is something that we should get on top of. And what's hurting it? I mean,
what's hurting what?
What's the worst thing that it's doing right now in the industry?
I think
exactly.
I think the worst thing that it's doing is it's fading out film. It's one day we will get to a point where nobody's making film anymore. All these old film cameras are basically going to be useless because there's no film. These cameras are just going to be sitting there collecting dust, or they'll be on display, and you're going to look at these old cameras and be like, this is the history of cinematography. This is the history of what we know as the medium of like film recordings.
The one thing that that I'm theorizing what would happen, and I seen this when I didn't see it personally, like multiple interviews with musicians that I've seen on YouTube. What's it called? Analog tapes. That started becoming a snuffed out thing, but a bunch of musicians, like very very big musicians, started using analog tapes again, and now there's a lot of businesses now that are starting to come out selling analog tapes, and it's making the market out of that even better, and it's providing better sound, and it's a different kind of argument. But I feel like in film there's got to be that one guy
Yeah.
that knows how to use digital and is a master at it, but to keep up with the stigma or to break the stigma, he's gonna be like, how old are you? Oh, I'm 24. And you're making movies? Yeah. How come? What do you use? What kind of cameras do you use? Oh, I use this type of camera, and it's a film camera. They don't make these anymore. This is the cameras that I'm using. I bought them myself or whatever. Like, he invested into those cameras, and he says, "Yeah, I use film all the time." And like, you're very young. Why don't you use digital?
It's gonna be like the year 2040.
Yeah,
It's like you're using film.
Yeah,
in the year 2040.
Yeah, like there's gonna be that one director, upcoming director, and it's gonna be like, yeah, I'm using film because I just like it, and I'll use digital every once in a while. It'll be rare, but I just like film. I just like it.
Didn't you say? Isn't it Jack White who started up his own vinyl company?
Yeah.
So that's what you mean, right? Like, there's gonna be that one guy that makes film again.
But yeah, he opened his own vinyl company selling cassettes. He even went as far as, but like, since he utilized that kind of technology, he went as far as to even like add a little hologram on his record player. I guess it's like a ballerina, a type of woman dancing to the blues. It's kind of cool, but yeah, like, I feel like there's gonna be that point. We're gonna have certain directors coming out saying, I prefer film because I just like it. And they're gonna be, and I'm pretty sure they'll be honest about it, because the next guy that's really trying to push it is James Cameron. But
yeah. So
to each their own.
Basically, so what you were saying about it's a style, it is a style choice, to the point where one of the directors said that this film that they were shooting, the actors were older, and the setting was an older setting. So for him, shooting film made sense. And it does kind of capture these people from the time that they were thriving. No, that's not what I'm trying to say. That's a weird way to put it. It's like saying, how am I trying to form my thoughts here? It captures them. They were older, but it captures them as what they would have been like in their prime.
It's off-putting to them.
I don't know how to word this, but basically it was appropriate for that film, and it was a style choice.
Yeah.
To use film.
Yeah.
And that's a cool thing about film. Not all films are the same.
Mm-hmm.
They're made differently, and the way that they develop them, it also gives it a different style to the film. And that's really cool. As far as digital goes, though, if you want to replicate that style, it's a bit weirder. So like, if you shot 4K, let's just say 4K 60 FPS, you shot a short film, right? But you wanted it to look noir, or you wanted it to look black and white and grainy. Sure, you can apply those filters onto the footage, but for some reason it looks weird. It doesn't capture it the same way that the proper film would be. Maybe nowadays with technology you can get closer, but as far as I've seen, whenever a modern show or movie wants to be shot in like digital, but they edit it to look old, it doesn't look quite right.
Yeah.
It doesn't capture that same vibe. It can look nice. You can definitely have 4K black and white and it looks fine, but it's not going to capture that same look. So as far as editing goes, it's definitely a style.
Yeah.
Even photography. I've tried to do some black and white photography, with my digital camera, and it kind of works. It kind of looks okay. You know, it does look more. It looks sharper. It looks clearer. It's more. You get a bigger image, bigger file size, but it doesn't quite capture the way that a black and white camera would. It doesn't capture it the way that it would be if you developed it with film.
Mm-hmm.
So there is definitely a lot of respect to be had for anybody that decides, nope, it's gonna be film. I'm gonna get my film. I'm gonna develop it, and I'm gonna get that shot because that's the style that I want.
So let's not also forget, film is film, but also let's not always forget and give credit to those that provide the sound design, the color grading, and the scoring. All of that alone,
okay,
it also provides that style as well.
I know that sound and like the score is a big part of it, but I kind of want to stick to like the visual aspect for now. We can talk about this scoring for a different episode, if that's what you want.
Yeah,
if that's what you want.
Shoot your shots. However you want it.
Yeah, shoot whatever you want. It's all good. I think I've said what I wanted to say as far as this topic goes.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts?
Too. I have no regrets getting my camera.
Same.
I'm actually having fun with it.
Same.
So
that's your camera. That's mine.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
I'm looking at my camera.
You want to shoot your shots? Go get a camera and have fun with it.
Yeah, shoot your shot.
But use your cell phone first. Let's see if you like it.
Yeah, do that. But use whatever format you want, film or digital. Doesn't matter, baby. As long as you get your shot. I don't know. Okay. Okay. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Do you shoot film? Do you shoot digital? What's your preference? Did we say anything that you think is wrong? Let us know. So it's an open discussion.
Yeah, let us know because we're not experts.
Yeah, never shot film.
We're always open to learn a few new things.
Yeah.
A few new things I need to enunciate, right? But
check us out on Instagram at Coffee Spill Podcast. Link in the description. Anything you want to plug in?
Check out my Instagram, Mr_Pepperman.
And shut up. Check out my personal Instagram, Ricky R Photography, where you can find my photography. It's all digital though. I don't know why I keep winking at the camera. I should stop.
But yeah, it's digital. So any of you film buffs out there, you might not like it, but don't leave hate comments.
Or do. I don't know.
I regret saying that. They're gonna do it.
First comment, you guys suck. Film is the way to go.
I don't know.
End.
Yeah.